because you don't do sick days like you do on a job. On the
No
job,
kidding.
people try to take advantage of the employee by, I'm sick and don't want to come to work, but entrepreneurs, you got work to do. So you're a better fighter when it comes to sickness, because you got to limit your sickness because you can't get no work done if you're sick. So
All
that's
right.
a
Eddie has
different
spoken.
mindset. Yep,
There you
different
go.
mindset. All right, John.
Thank you, Eddie.
When you lean forward like that, I know you're ready to do it. So
Well, no, we're already live for like 57 seconds. So yeah, whatever you just said, man, that was it right there. No, I mean, we go live on time. You know my policy. On time, baby. If you can't be on time, be early. So good to see you, Eddie. Good to see
I like
Stu.
that.
There's Jay, Karen, Scott. Look at all these awesome people. There's Tracy East. Annie, good to see y'all. I think I just met Tracy yesterday, in fact. She's over there in New Zealand. Anyway, good to see you all. John Lavinia here with you live, whether you like it or not. It is Tuesday, the 19th of April. Actually, my brother's birthday. I got to call my brother. 2022, and it's good to be here with everyone. Eddie, you just brought up the topic. I can always like eavesdrop a little bit and kind of get a topic out of whatever's coming out of your mouth. Right. So the topic is, I want to use these words. You can't afford to, but in other words, you choose not to be sick because you got work to do. I'm going to start today with a story, and then we can kick it around and see what we can get out of this. And this is going to be kind of a heavy story in multiple ways. Okay. But there was this guy who had him and his wife, and they were aged, in their 90s. And so the children, the grown, adult children were saying, you know what, Dad, we should put Mom in the nursing home, and, because you're doing a lot to take care of her, and, she needs care and whatever. And the guy said, no, don't take her to the nursing home. It would kill me. So this guy kind of like, he doted on his wife all through their long marriage and life together. So it would kill me. All right. So finally, the adult children, decided, we need to put her in the nursing home. So they did that. They moved her to a place where she had full-time care. And her husband, their father, was dead within a week. Now, he said it would kill me. Dead within a week. Autopsy comes to find out that every organ in this guy's body was riddled with cancer. Every organ. So, all right, heavy story, I know. Okay, but what can we glean from this? Purpose, right? And that commitment, that resolve, that purposefulness kept this guy's body going. Now, we got medical professionals here in this room. You may say, well, John, that's kind of thin, coincidence, whatever. Every organ in his body. Angel, I'm going to mute your microphone. So what is that? What can we get from all this? I will tell you that as an entrepreneur, as Eddie indicated, well, I'll speak for myself. I've tended to take to accept less excuses from myself. Accept less excuses. In fact, I've had conversations. This is interesting because I've been in sales and marketing a long time and all this, and I've been in conversations where people will tell me about their reasons why they can't participate in such and such offer or program or whatever they said they wanted to be involved in, and they're rattling off, and it's very easy to do, rattling off all their excuses. And a common one is I don't have the money, right? Okay, and an interesting and state breaking response to that could be, you know what, that's a great excuse, probably the best one I've ever heard. But I don't buy it. And hopefully for your sake, you don't buy it either. What? Okay. So in the business of evolving in life and in your results and your business itself, right? There are going to be times where you get to buy your own excuses or not buy them. And you can respond you can respond to yourself. Here's your mentor John telling you to talk to yourself. Yeah, okay. I mean, whatever works. Doesn't have to be audible by other people. But you can observe. All right. So here's my patterns of thought and how I tend to talk myself out of doing things that could advance me in the direction that I said I wanted to go. You know what? Great excuses, probably the best ones I've ever heard. After all, I came up with them, but I'm not buying it. Right. So all this from the idea of Eddie talking about how he got through whatever infirmity just because he didn't afford himself the luxury of, oh, now I'm going to go be downtrodden or something. I'm going to go be down. So like it's a choice, and it kind of is. All right. So I'm not saying that we go through life and business and everything else without taking our licks, right? Going through unscathed and everything's a bowl of cherries just because you decided it should be. No. Okay. But that resolve, that resiliency that comes with ownership. Yes, that's it. So it's one thing to say, hey, I'm an entrepreneur now because you bought a course to teach you how to do some e-commerce stuff. I mean, that's cool. That's better than sitting there in a state of ignorance and not knowing this. Okay. So good. Educate yourself. But when you take ownership of that, and we've talked about this before, who shows up transforms. Who shows up? Here are the methods. Here are the logistics and the training material. Nice. Thank you. Nice. Okay. But who's showing up to execute? Who's steering the ship? By the way, it's not the person you bought the course from. Right. So here's Rachel, here's Adam, here's Amy, here's all these people who are, way further down, millions of dollars down the road from where you started. Cool. Learn what you can from them. Okay. But then take ownership of it. Right. And like we get to have conversations here before we go live with our, our group, our official event, which we're in right now. Okay. So, but there's, people that, meet, and this room's open all day. So you can meet, you could share, ideas and, technical tips and screen sharing. I mean, you do whatever you want. This room's here for your use. Okay. Play nice with each other. But all of that secondary kind of stuff is exactly that. It's secondary. It's secondary. Now, the people who show up to do, not only, the main event, which we're in right now, but also to, help each other and participate in the community, or maybe you're on the Facebook group. You show up, you're going through your course material, your accelerator modules, you're working with coaches and stuff. So who is that person? Well, that's the person who has taken ownership, hopefully, right? That's the person who can be resilient, and who isn't stopped because, Etsy suspended your account. Is there anyone who hasn't had their account suspended by Etsy? Right. Still not yet? Okay. Well, got it. I thought they just did that to everybody, just as a matter of course, just to see if you're a real person or something. But I remember back when I switched to Mac, I used to run PCs. I had 8 PCs running in my home and office, and it was PCs everywhere. And then Windows Vista came out, and that was it for me. Switched to Mac, right? Anybody remember Windows Vista? What a pile of crap that was. Oh my goodness, it was the worst. Anyway, and I switched to Mac. And one of the things that I heard is that it's impossible to crash a Mac. And then I was talking to some Mac people, and they said, oh no, if you've never crashed a Mac, you're not trying hard enough. Yeah. We crash Macs around here. So, and I've since crashed my Mac a few times. But the idea there was that yeah, you may have the best equipment, arguably, right? I know Windows has come a long way too. But are you getting all the juice out of it? I've mentioned several times that I'm the kind of guy that reads the manual on everything, right? So I just bought a toaster, and I'm going to read the manual on the toaster because I want to get every drop of value out of this, $18.95 that I spent on the toaster. I want my money's worth, damn it. I also want my toast to come out good. I want the product, the product itself is the correctly toasted piece of bread, right? The toaster is the tool that makes the product, right? So I want the product, which is nicely toasted bread. Okay, so I'm going to read the manual because my intention is that I have the experience that I signed up to have, which is correctly toasted piece of bread. The toaster, by the way, it has this, you guys know how in the old style toasters where you can press the button, you press the lever down to defeat the springs, right? And the bread sinks into the chamber and gets warmed up. And if you decide to cancel, you want to end early, right? You just force the handle up. Well, I was trying to do that on this toaster and it wasn't working. And I was like, I'm going to break the damn toaster. You know what? Well, what it said in the manual, hi, Jewel, what it said in the manual was that there's this little button called cancel underneath the handle. You just click that and it releases the spring and bam, the bread pops up. Now, had I not read the manual, well, I might have broken my toaster. What am I getting at with all this? What I'm getting at is that you take ownership of stuff. Okay. My toaster, my business, my life, my excuses or not. Interesting considerations, right? So I know we're getting pretty deep in the weeds here on a Tuesday morning or afternoon or middle of the night, wherever you happen to be. But the idea here is that here's the training that you signed up for. It exists. It's good. It works. Hooray. It works for who? Works for people who take ownership of it. And yeah, you'll have problems and you'll solve problems or not based on whoever's showing up, right? So we have, here's the thing, I'll end off with this and then you guys, I'm sure Scott Barker will have some comments on this. Here's the person who has shown up before in other ventures and has purchased courses and has started this and started that, never quite taken anything to completion. Because there's stops and stalls, you see, there's problems, right? There's barriers. Look, if success was easy, it would be mediocrity. Everybody would do it, right? So no. But they've been stopped throughout their career as a serial entrepreneur, which is a dangerous thing to be. Okay. And now they showed up here. Okay. Well, who's showing up? The person who's going to be stopped? The person expecting, a bowl of cherries or something? Or the person, here's the other person, right, who may or may not have had that similar or same, experience up to this point, but who has said, that's it, the buck stops here. I take it to a done. I complete what I start. I may have blundered, fine, I forgive myself. Now, in present time, is the person who gets it done. The person who takes ownership, the person who perseveres, who overcomes, who has resilience, who has resolve, who has purpose, despite whatever, we experienced up to this point. It's kind of like, you're all familiar with the concept of a New Year's resolution, which I kind of laugh at, but because you either have resolve or you don't, regardless of what day the calendar says it is. But here's someone who is resolving, supposedly, to turn over a new leaf or to make a change. Okay, but Ralph Emerson, the great philosopher, said, of what use to make heroic vows of amendment if the same old lawbreaker is to keep them? So what we're really talking about here with this whole idea of resilience and purposefulness and all that is to have ownership and resolve and laws, working with the laws, right? And I can tell you one law, I suppose we can call it a law of success. Right. I know that sells books, right? The secret law, right? Say you got a secret and everybody wants to know it. Okay. Well, here it is. The anatomy of your success is completing what you start. Think of anything you've ever been successful at in life. You didn't just start, you did it and then you got done and then you stopped, right? Start, do it, stop, right? Because you're finished. And that was a successful action. And a lot of times I'll ask people, especially our newer members here, what would indicate to you that this was a successful action? Is there a certain target income? Is there something that you could commit to? An intention, something, worth getting out of bed in the morning, some, resolve and some reason good enough for you to not apply the same operating strategy or lack of strategy that you did with the 15 other things that didn't bear fruit. Let's not be vague about this. The guy with his wife and the guy whose body was cancerous and whatever, right? I mean, he had a resolve, he had purpose, he had something way beyond just, comfort and convenience and I'll try. So consider that. I didn't know this is where we were going today, but as you know, Eddie and Scott, I never know what's going to come out of my mouth until I hear it. Maybe something good. We'll find out. What do you guys think? Eddie, you've got the floor, then we'll go to Scott. You got your hands up.
All right. Well, you always, somebody last time I was on here, they made the comment that, Eddie knows everything. No, John knows everything.
No,
all you gotta do is
Socrates.
All you gotta do is stick a pin in him, and like a balloon, the air start coming out of you. You hear what you got to say.
Something. But no, hold on. What did Socrates say? He was like the wisest man of his age, right? He said, "I know nothing but the fact of my ignorance." There you go. Be like Socrates.
You fix ignorance by learning all you can. I mean, we're in a time where information is everywhere. You really don't have an excuse not to have information. So overwhelm is a good problem. You just decide what part of what's all the overwhelm is about, and put some of it right here and take the one that you want to work with and be consistent with it. I always thought about Woody Allen, who said the biggest part of success is showing up. You come to the meeting every day, the town meeting, and you don't even know what it's all about. You hear them start talking, and you realize, wait a minute, that's my property they're talking about. So you showed up. You realize, no, now you want to protest about whatever it is they're doing because it's going to affect your property. If you didn't show up, you didn't even know when it was happening. So show up. This is your, ownership. This is your business. Get a why. That man you talked about, you said it was a heavy story. Well, that's a story of a lot of men. A lot of men live through their wives. As soon as the wife leaves, he leaves shortly afterwards, because that was his purpose, keeping his lady right. And that happens because you got a why. Why is so powerful, because the universe hears it. It says, okay, you got a reason you want to hang around, because you make a choice. What do you want to do? And the most powerful scripture I know that's out there is ask and it is given. And we take that for granted. Your actions, you are asking for something. You're telling the universe what you want, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent. If you want procrastination, you get that, because that's what you're focusing on. You want John talked about a number. Well, my number, I feel real successful when I'm making $30,000 a month. And that's personal, why that number is upgraded from 23,000, but 30,000 a month. I think that's what I wrote in when I first joined this LHS here. And I'm gonna wear black suits with this red shirt under and all that kind of stuff. And I'm gonna talk about these days here. I call them the days of thunder, because you get out in a storm and it's a storm is about to come. You look at the black clouds and everything, but guess what? You still have to get through the storm. I mean, it's just a storm. Storms come, and then one day it gets out bright and sunny like it's outside. You go, wow. But that storm actually did some good things. You brought some good rain. You needed the ground wet and everything. So it's not terrible. It's just part of the process. What do you want? That's all the universe is asking of you. Forget all this other stuff, all this overwhelm. What do you want? And if you're having a problem answering that question, that's where you need to work, because you run your show. I mean, Smokey Robinson and the Miracles, they called it that name for a reason. He was the lead singer and he wrote the songs. Rest of the guys had to go ooh ah ooh ah ah ooh ah ah ooh yeah oh ah ooh ah, and he went ah, ah, you know, he was the lead singer. And I heard it, that's just how it is, you know. So you be the lead singer of your group, write the songs, and the backup people do their job, and they'll keep coming because they love to hear you sing. Sing your song of success, and it'll just come. And I really, and it seemed like magic, but it's what you did. Be proud of it. Stu, you're a trooper. Glad for the conversation. Thank you, John, and take it away, Scott. Your turn.
Scott.
Interesting. The word itself that you first mentioned, disease. It actually came to my attention recently. The derivation of that, dis-ease, is a lack of ease, a lack of inner peace, a lack of inner repose, if you like. And I think you'll find that that is the root of a lot of illness, both physical and mental. It's interesting because it certainly ties into intentionality, but I mean, you see this often. I mean, the idea of sort of willing yourself to die. A lot of people, say in nursing homes, you see it a lot. The death rate in nursing homes will suddenly take an increase soon after Christmas, or soon after Mother's Day, or soon after some important event that involves visitation by the relatives. It's a well-known phenomenon. And I remember there was some brain research done in a different context relating to dietary changes that would help children who had epilepsy that couldn't be resolved any other way. And the outcome is very involved, but basically what they found is they did autopsies on a lot of people, and generally they found every single person has some cancer in their bodies. It's not always enough to take them out. It's not, but if they live long enough, it would. So everyone has that to some degree in their bodies. Whether it finds full expression or not depends on the environment they create in their bodies with their thinking. And that's something that Joe Dispenza was very significant in pointing out. Whether it's a physical environment or a mental environment, it's all the same. It's an environment created by your thoughts and your feelings, and that stimulates certain genes to express themselves. And if those genes are cancer related or illness related, then sure enough, the environment you created mentally will trigger those genes as much as a physical condition will. And so that's when your emotions out of control and your feelings out of control can trigger those responses. And then to me, that ties in very much to the idea of a lack of ease. Because when you're talking about a lack of inner peace, you're basically saying that your emotions can run wild, and they can express, basically change that inner environment, which causes bad genes to come through. And I think if you can try and focus on developing that inner peace, you'll find that acts as a buffer, as a break, so that those normal emotional reactions, those triggered responses, if you like, don't find expression and don't find a foothold in your life. And that can give you a lot of freedom from those triggered responses that you were talking about. Because I think a lot of people, they go into an emotional state, and they say, "Oh, this is how I feel. This is how I am," and that's the basis of procrastination. It's the basis of distraction, a lot of things. But I think that's an illusion. This idea of an emotional state being, "Oh, that's me. That's the real me." It's not. I think the real you is the one that you find when you've acquired a certain amount of inner peace. It's like a pond without ripples. You don't see what's underneath until the pond is calm and there's no surface ripples. And then you see who you really are inside when you're truly calm. If you're stuck in the emotions of the moment and all the perceptions that go with that of the moment, all you're doing is basically playing out triggered responses that you learned when you were a child. but it's not. It's just old programming come to the surface. It's not the real you. The real you is to be found from a position of inner peace, I think, and that's why the idea of know yourself. You'll never know yourself. That's the Greeks say, know thyself. You'll never know thyself if you're stuck in the emotions of the moment, which are nothing more than the triggered responses of past programming from your own childhood. That's not you. That's your old programming. The you is separate from that. And I think it's only when you can see the real you that you can separate yourself from those emotions that can create such a negative health environment for you. There's a lot of sort of different levels to this. And I think too, you mentioned ownership, taking ownership of your situation. I think it's hard to have ownership of your situation when you can't separate yourself from it. If you're part and parcel of that situation and all the emotional baggage that goes with that, it's hard to separate yourself if you are in the midst of that process. I mean, someone telling you to just calm down and don't get all silly about it. It's very hard when you're in the middle of it. And yet, if you can develop that sense of inner peace, whether it's through meditation or whatever it is, it does give you the ability to stand back from the situation and actually do take ownership. Because remember, people who run a business are not always at the coalface. They're standing back a bit. They have a sort of overseer's view. And that distance enables them to see things sometimes much more clearly that the people at the coalface can't always see. And that's why when you're emotionally a little bit distant from the situation, you actually have much more freedom to see it much more clearly. And then that's when you can take ownership and decide, is this response good or not? But because unless you can separate yourself from your emotional response, it's very hard to take ownership because the emotional response is how you see yourself. That is what you are. And for someone to say, don't feel this way is like saying, don't be yourself, because that's how you see yourself, which is an illusion. But that's how people try and help. And it doesn't work that way until you can separate yourself from that emotional vortex. Anyway, that's a few things I've mentioned. Thought I'd mention all those things.
Awesome. Thank you, Scott. Hey, you know what? I'm getting all kinds of cup and shirt ideas out of this conversation. Is anybody else? Mark, Tracy, Annie, Karen, cup ideas, inspirational stuff. There was, you guys remember this song by Bobby McFerrin, Don't Worry, Be Happy? Yeah, who doesn't, right? Was that 1988? You know where he got that from? That was the words. There was this guy named Meher Baba. He was like a guru guy, and spiritual and all this. And he took was it 40 something years to sit there and be quiet. 40 years the guy didn't talk, just kind of sitting there meditating and stuff. And and when he finally did speak, that's what he said. Don't worry, be happy. All right, put that on a cup, right? Or some variation of that, right? So while we just had a pretty serious talk here today, right? Think of how you can uplift people. I know there's lots of different niches and different, all right, we're going to do dogs and we're going to do satire and we're going to do sarcasm and we're going to do inspiration. Well, I'll tell you what, I got some inspired ideas just listening to you guys. Now, good news for all of you is that I'm not producing cups and shirts. You are. Okay, so now you go ahead and take these ideas, right? Go do it, and see what see what the marketplace says about it. Do you think that people could use some inspiration right now? Just look around planet Earth right now. Do you think people could use something inspiring? Could you work that into your repertoire of your offerings? Man, there's 100 ideas right there.
All right.
There you go. Thank you, Jay. And she got the music accompaniment as well. Good times. Well, guys, why don't we go ahead and wrap up with that? Tune in tomorrow for whatever happens tomorrow. Something. Oh, let me say this, a little bit of housekeeping. I just discovered that the location I'm going to be in next week is off the grid, like no Wi-Fi, maybe some cell phone service here and there. So I am not going to be with you guys next week for the first time since I started this whole forum. So we'll see what happens with that. Now, of course, you all know the room's open, play nice together and do whatever you want to do. But as far as the daily success call, this regularly scheduled event like we're having right now, we're going to have a couple people fill in perhaps. And, but I'm just not going to be able to do it. So kind of weird for me to be off the grid as a guy who's been working on the internet for 20 years. So anyway, love you guys. Have an awesome day. I'll be back here with you tomorrow. I will not be off the grid, and we'll see what comes up then. In the meantime, if you're new here, get with your accountability reps, get through your, your accelerator, your course material, get an account set up, little progress, right? A little bit of improvements yield big improvements. So anyway, we'll see you guys again real soon. Thank